She stormed off, left. I don't think she ever came back to the church. I know for sure I caused church hurt in that woman's life that day. Did she get over it? Did she heal? Did she find another church? Today we're going to talk about church hurt.
The adult ministries pastor at the time sat me down and said, because he's involved in this, you're not allowed to talk to anyone else at the church. You're only allowed to talk to me about this.
I had, let me count them, 1, 2, 3, 4 leaders placed over me that had some sort of moral failing. Do I have a problem with authority today? Absolutely I do. No one was trying to hurt me, but when all those things added up,
Right.
if you can't separate those people from the character of God, man, it's hard. Hey, when I was an associate pastor many moons ago, we had this like church library. Like all smaller churches have a church library, and it's just full of all kinds of books that no one ever reads. I went in once and I found that the last book, that was checked out from that library was like 2 years previous. That was the last time. So, but we needed space for a Sunday school classroom. And so I kind of eliminated some books from the library, moved things around. It was still a library, but also was a great meeting space. And I was so proud of it. I was like, man, look at what I did. So Sunday comes along and the group, what was their name? This was a Sunday school group that had been around for a hot minute. They'd been meeting for a while, like back when the church was first started, kind of thing. Maybe not that maybe not true, but they walked in, and this one lady walks in and bursts into tears, and she turns around and just starts screaming at me. Like, and I'm standing there, there's like 30, 40 people like in the hallways, whatever, just watching this lady just lay into me. How dare I mess with the library, change all these things. And of course, I'm like a deer in headlights, like what in the world is going on right now? And she stormed off, left. I don't think she ever came back to the church. Like, she left the church over that. Now, we can talk about like how maybe that was an overreaction, but I know for sure I caused church hurt in that woman's life that day.
I have so many thoughts. Okay. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. How did you feel?
Horrified. I don't remember how I felt at that moment. I was dumbfounded that it happened. After it happened, a lot of people were like, hey, she shouldn't have, whatever. I was fine. It was what it was. I was saddened that something like that would set her off and that she would choose to leave the church over it. And with no conversation at all. And I often wonder, in all honesty, if she was alive today, she'd be in her upper 90s at this point. But I always wondered how that affected her long term. Did she get over it? Did she heal? Did she find another church? I don't know the answer to that question. Today we're going to talk about church hurt.
Yeah.
And church hurt is an interesting type of, there's all kinds of hurt that we experience in our lives, but for some reason, church hurt seems to be deeper for people. I want to read this statement to you, and I just want your blind reaction to the statement. All right, you ready?
Okay.
All right. Sometimes we expect more from the pastor and the church staff than we expect from God.
Read it one more time.
Sometimes we expect more from the pastor and church staff than we expect from God. I'm not asking you to agree or disagree, but what are your thoughts? I've never sat and watched you ponder for so long.
I'm trying to use that as a mirror to my own heart. Do I expect more from you than I do from God?
Shall we unpack it?
Yeah.
A little bit?
Yeah. For me, I'm sure that some people do. And based on the reactions that sometimes happen in life and ministry, I think that that's true.
Yeah.
For me personally, I'm the only person that I can speak for. I think that has been true for me in seasons where I have expected more from my pastors than I've expected from God. Probably because I can see them and I can't see God. But in this season, I don't think that's true.
What's the difference in the seasons?
Longevity.
Okay.
Over time, maturity. I mean, I've been, this year is 23 years of following Jesus for me.
Good. Yeah.
And over time, seeing how God is faithful when people are not, but also being hurt.
Yeah.
I think there's something about walking through. I gotta figure out how to say this carefully. No, I don't have to say it carefully. Nope. I'm just gonna say it. Walking through actual church hurt. The reason I asked you how you felt about that library instance is because you said you caused church hurt.
Yeah.
I would not qualify that as
this is
as deep traumatic church hurt that many people experience.
Agreed. And this is where I want to get us is defining what church hurt is, because there is a spectrum of church hurt.
Yes. I have experienced deep traumatic church hurt.
Yes.
And I've also experienced the opposite of that, where pastors have come through in ways that I feel were over the top gracious, in ways that they didn't need to.
Yeah.
You included have shown me grace far beyond what you needed to. And so because of those instances, compared to the traumatic church hurt I've experienced, because of walking through both of those things, I don't think that I struggle with that any longer. I think that now I know who God is.
Yeah.
Compared to who my shepherds are.
That differentiation is important. But I think harder for people who are newer to the faith, right? Because there is an expectation. I remember as a kid, like, I thought the pastor was like next to God. Like, they hung out with God. That was my mentality when I was a kid, was there's a special place for a pastor. Now I am one, and I realize that's not true.
Right.
Like, there may be greater expectations for us in terms of, and rightful expectations in terms of how we handle ourselves and how we engage with the world. But it doesn't mean I'm more holy than someone else. So there is a learning. So I think in my youngest days, if a pastor or church leader did something that was harmful and hurtful, it would have impacted me more than it does today. Because I've discovered, like you said, over the maturity and time, we discover how to separate your humanness away from the holiness of God.
Right.
And those things. It doesn't mean you're off the hook. So let's talk a little bit about that spectrum, right? So at one extreme end of the spectrum is what we will term abuse. Like, there is abuse that happens within the church. Leaders abuse people. Unfortunately, it happens. We see it in the news. We see it happen. So in no way, shape, or form in any of this conversation do we want to say to devalue the significance of the impact of real abusive church hurt. On the other side, there's disappointments. Like, sometimes you get disappointed with a pastor or a leader or the church, or disappointed with how someone did something, they made a mistake, whatever it may be. I can think of times when people have come up to me and, it happened just recently. They said something about the message positive, and then they said, hey, back in like 6-8 months ago when you didn't talk about this thing, and you could tell like there was anger and hurt that I didn't address a certain situation 6 months ago. You've been hanging on to that disappointment. It wasn't church hurt. That was you were just disappointed in me.
Right.
But because you didn't talk about it, the way you're talking about it now feels like hurt.
Right.
Because you just didn't come to me then and just have a conversation with me. So I think it's understanding where do we fall. I think an important piece of our church hurt is identifying what is it.
Where on the spectrum?
Am I disappointed in Tony?
Yeah.
Or did Tony hurt me? Like, right? Is there an abusive situation? You handle abuse very differently. Like, get out.
Yeah.
If you're in a church that's being abusive, get out.
Yeah.
If you're just disappointed, you should lean in.
Yeah.
And we'll talk more about what that looks like. You had mentioned before we started that you were going to share some of your story.
Yeah.
So I think now, like, as we talk about that spectrum, it would be great to hear that part of your life.
In college, I was serving in a church as somewhat of like a volunteer women's ministry director, as well as a youth small group leader, and serving on the worship team and dating the youth pastor at the time.
Okay.
While
very ingrained.
Yes, very ingrained while going to Bible college. And I was sexually assaulted. And I remember going to the adult ministries pastor at the time and saying, this happened. I need a safe place to process this. Because at the time, the guy I was dating who was the youth pastor, I mean, we were young, right? I was like 21. So in no way were we mature enough to walk through this. And he was like, I don't know how to handle this. So he broke up with me, which compounded the hurt.
Nice. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, at this point in my life, I don't hold any ill feelings towards him for that. But at that time, it compounded the pain for sure.
Right.
So the adult ministries pastor at the time sat me down and said, because he's involved in this, you're not allowed to talk to anyone else at the church about what's going on in your life, because that would be gossip. You're only allowed to talk to me about this. And I remember feeling like, this feels inappropriate because you're a man. Mm-hmm. And this is a really intimate, traumatic thing to talk to a man about that I don't know very well. And it did end up going very poorly.
Yeah, I'm sure it did.
And so I ended up leaving the church. And then the church called my college to try to get me kicked out of my program.
Nice.
Yeah. So that was significant church hurt.
Yeah, it is.
And I think the thing that over time compounded it for me is it's a church. You and I have talked about this before, about like really struggling. We've talked about this on this podcast, struggling with seeing other leaders who succeed, who have poor character. Like this is a church that is growing and thriving today. Uh-huh. They're continuing to plant new campuses, and this pastor has grown in his footprint, and this is an area that I have had to take back to the Lord time and time again to say, like, I trust that you see me, and that you see the hurt I experienced, and that even though it doesn't seem on a worldly, church worldly scale that I'm being vindicated, or that this is fair, I trust that in the kingdom, in the story that you're writing, that you are writing fairness and justice for me. Mm-hmm.
Do you look back at first of all, on behalf of the church, I'm sorry that you went through that. Do you look at where on that spectrum would you place your story in terms of abuse versus not just disappointment, but just a mistake? Like sometimes we just mismanaged something, wasn't intentional. Sometimes we just, honestly, a lot of church hurt is created because the church is more concerned with protecting its own image and its own story than it is about protecting people.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, when you look at that spectrum, where do you see your story falling?
Yeah.
What would you term it as?
I think it started out, the beginning of the situation, it started out as a mistake. It was a situation that was handled very poorly, but then as it progressed, it turned into, now we need to protect our image. Yeah. Something that could have very easily been handled as, oh my gosh, we messed up and we're so sorry. Abuse. Yeah. Yeah. It started out as mistake, turned into abuse.
Yeah. 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 I'm sorry you experienced that, but I know your full story for the most part, and what God has done and how he showed up in your life, and the strength of your character and your faith in him, how it's grown through this. And ultimately that's our hope and our prayer for anybody who's experienced church hurt, is that it doesn't push you away from God. It actually draws you closer to him, because he is the one that can heal you. pastors, leaders, churches are all broken. None of us are perfect. We try to acknowledge that as much as we can, not just for everyone else's sake, but for our own, to remind ourselves, I'm not perfect. I'm not a perfect leader, not a perfect lead pastor. I'll make mistakes. I'll say things wrong. And sometimes I'll do the wrong thing.
Right.
We try not to, but it happens.
Yeah.
But we always point to the perfect one and the one who can redeem and heal all things. Yeah. And we've seen you lean into that time and time again.
Thanks.
And navigate that well. What, for someone who's watching or listening right now who has experienced church hurt and hasn't figured out how to process and move forward, what's like the 2 or 3 things you would say from your own experience on how to navigate through that?
I think one is find safe people to process with. One of the mistakes I made really early on was trying to jump into superficial relationships that weren't fully formed and process with those, and found out really quickly that they weren't safe, and it just compounded the hurt. So finding safe, mature, grounded relationships, people who love Jesus, who can show compassion and empathy, but also remind you of what's true, instead of just wallowing in it with you. That's number one. Number two, it's okay to leave space. Yeah. There was a period of time where I, frankly, could not step into a church.
I bet.
That didn't mean that I wasn't part of a church community. I still met with a gathering of believers. It wasn't in a traditional, highly, what I was used to, traditional, highly produced worship setting. Yeah. Because of what I had been through. I knew that I was going to get back to that at some point, but I needed a season of something different to engage with God, because the goal is to engage with God, not to check a box, right? And so giving myself the space to engage with God, to heal, knowing that that space wasn't the end game. Yeah. And then 3, I think, remembering that God is kind. In those seasons, it's people who are afraid of pain are quick to put platitudes on the things you've been through. Yeah. And that ain't it.
Yeah, that's a whole nother podcast too. Right? Yeah.
No, sir. Okay. And that, I mean, for anyone who's listening, do not do that. Yeah. Do not do that. I mean, there were people in that season who were telling me, this is an exact quote, Tony, gird your loins. Yeah. I believe God had you go through this so that you can help other women who've been raped.
Dear Jesus.
Well, I don't believe that God is that cruel.
No, no.
So.
Was that someone from that church?
Yeah.
I'm glad you left that church. That's horrible. I'm sorry. Yeah.
So
we hear those a lot during funerals and stuff. Yeah. People just don't know what to say. They say these platitudes that have been said.
Let's be like Job's friends before they open their mouth.
Yeah.
And just sit with people in their grief and be okay with just the ministry of presence with people. That is healing. Yep. The most healing thing that people did for me was take me out for coffee and just sit with me and cry with me.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah, you gotta let that person drive.
Yeah.
Drive the journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to talk about specific, probably more related to disappointment kinds of church hurt, but like five places or 5 reasons the church hurt happens.
Yeah.
And then I want to look at like the underlying causes, like why do these things happen in the life of the church? Because we often think that the church is that we often joke about families arguing in the car or at home before church, and then when they walk through the doors, everything's perfect. You got the perfect family, everything's copacetic, and everyone's happy. And then you leave again, everything's back to chaos.
Copacetic.
I don't know.
Okay.
Everything's good. Everything's peaceful. I hope that's right. You know, I'll look that up for us, Tyler. Might have botched this. My youngest daughter just used a word the other day, and I'm drawing a blank on what the word was now, but my son's like, that's not even a word, and it turns out it was an excellent order. Yeah, there close. You go. So it was right. I just like the way Webster does a much better job articulating the definition than I do.
Copacetic.
So everything was copacetic, and where was I going with that?
I'm sorry, I totally derailed you.
You're good.
People show up,
but we show up because we think we're supposed to be like all put together and perfect, and we also assume that the church is that too. Like the staff is perfect, everything's great, everything's peaceful, and it's the way it's supposed to be. And while that may be the ideal that we strive for, it's not the reality. We're all broken humans living in a broken world, and because of that, some of these things happen. So I'm going to run through these fairly quickly, but I want to talk about them for a moment. I think the first one is gossip. So it's when people talk about you. Hear this, friends, even in prayer, right? I mean, how many times have you heard prayers that they're just gossip sessions? Just an opportunity to talk about so-and-so's relationship or their marriage and whatever. And those kinds of things create church hurt because we break confidentiality.
Yeah. And you can even talk about things like that without using names. And that I would say that's still gossip.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The second one is poor leadership. So leaders are insensitive to the needs of the people of their church. This is a lot of what you dealt with, which is why I asked if it was abuse or just disappointment, because it was, at the end of the day, it was poor leadership. And whether it was intentional or not, it was poor leadership, and it caused a hurt for you.
Right.
And that could be a huge, I mean, we could talk about like massive abuse that we've seen in the news at times, and they're just simple, like, I am so sorry, I didn't know you were in the hospital or something like that, like little things.
Yeah.
Next one is rejections, when you feel like you don't belong. So it's the clickiness and the isolation, sometimes intentional, but creates hurt. There's judgments when another member forms opinions about you that may or may not be fair or true. You and I are both do ministry professionally. This is a very common one for us. Like, people are always making judgments and assessments about you and your character, and maybe they don't even know you.
Yeah.
I just found out that I was called an abomination by someone a couple years ago.
That's a new one.
Yeah, it was a new one. My assistant just told me that no matter who it was, said that he's the guy that emailed and called you an abomination. And I was like, I didn't know that happened. And it was after I had to let an employee go. And because of that, I was an abomination to the church and to Jesus and all this stuff. And it's like, oh, like, I don't even know you. Like, we've never had sat down and had a conversation.
Strong word.
So it's and I think, I only mention that to say, and this isn't like, we're not looking for sympathy here. Like, pastors experience church hurt too. Right. Because all these things that we're talking about happen to us from people within the church as well.
Yeah.
Like, people judge us. Like, if I could show you some of the emails that I've received in my career, it's like, you would never say that to someone's face, but you rattle that off in an email to me, and the next day you want me to act like you didn't say those things. And so we wrestle with the same types of hurt. False teaching. It's never acceptable to stray from Scripture, but and I think a lot of that's where you start seeing abuse come into play. Like, we all know that those are forms of church hurt, but the real question is, like, why did these things happen? Like, what's the reason those things happen within the body of Christ? And the first one, I think, is we live in a fallen world. We've kind of hit on this. We're broken people. Mag, you and I both know, and one of the things I love about you is, like, you don't try to act like you've got the world figured out and that you're perfect and have everything figured out. It's the authenticity I enjoy. And it's like, man, I've seen too many pastors and church members try to put on that facade And behind it, there's brokenness. It's back there.
I'm so happy that you're saying this right now, specifically in front of Tyler, because yesterday I apologized for something in our office. And
did you yell at him again?
No, my whole team was like, what's happening right now? Is Maggie apologizing? Is she admitting that she's wrong about something?
That's impressive for an 8, though. You're an Enneagram 8. That's very humbling for you.
I was like, yes, I am.
Yeah, that's good. But that's a part of it, right? It's just like it's like your pastor, like whatever church you go to, your pastor's broken. Like they're not perfect. Like we're going to make mistakes along the way, and we live in a world that is not perfect. And as much as you want it to be perfect, and you want that pastor who's preaching that sermon to be perfect, they're not.
Yeah, right.
And at some point, they're going to do something, and it's going to disappoint you, and you're going to have a choice: do you run away from God, or do you run to Him? Mm-hmm. And that's the decision you have. Satan is opposed to the church. And he will do everything in his power to tear it down. And I think you see that as a reason for church hurt. Revelation 12:17 says, then the dragon became furious with the woman and went off to make war on the rest of her offspring, on those who keep the commandments of God and hold to the testimony of Jesus. 1 Peter 5:8 says, be sober-minded, be watchful. Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion seeking someone to devour. I think we don't give him enough credit for the amount of times he subtly works in disappointment and church hurt into our lives. And I'm not even talking about the abuse stuff. I'm talking about the little things that we just allow to accumulate and say, oh, I'm out. I'm leaving the church. I'm walking away, and we blame God, whatever it is. But we've just allowed the enemy to slowly pick away and create those calluses. How have you seen that? Like the enemy show up in those ways?
Oh, man. Tony. I always want you to answer that question. Yeah. Goodness gracious. Something that a professor said to me in college was that you should lead out of healing, not lead out of hurt. And I didn't know what that meant at 21.
Sounds great, though.
At 21 years old, before I had received any therapy in my life. Yeah. But quickly found out, when I started leading out of hurt and pastoring people to receive praise. Yeah. And when you do that, what happens is that the enemy uses that hurt and that woundedness is to start picking at your insecurities and your pain and the exact things that you're afraid of happening start happening. Yeah. For me, it was being in churches, which are the predominant amount of churches that don't allow women to lead. Yeah. And so that was, for a large amount of my ministry career, was trying to decipher what's the difference between abuse and disappointment in terms of my opportunity as a woman in the church. Because a lot of people will tell you that it is abusive to not be allowed to lead as a woman. Yeah. That's a loud message.
Yes, it is.
A loud one. And I mean, I wasn't really allowed to lead in the church until I came to 242. That's most of my ministry career that I wrestled with disappointment with the church, but still continued to show up. And so we can get into that. That we'll probably get into that in future conversations. But I don't believe that is abuse. I believe that I chose to submit myself to the theology and direction of a specific church. Yeah. And because of that, I chose to submit myself to certain disappointments. I could have chosen to walk out at any point. Yeah. Yeah.
And there are different churches, and we have some church planter residents that is a married couple that want to do it together. Right. And the original pathway they were on was with a church plant organization that doesn't believe in women preachers. theological opinion, theological perspective, whatever. But they were also helpful in them helping find a different pathway.
Right.
So it wasn't abusive. It was, hey, like we have different theologies, so let us help you get connected with 242.
Right.
That can actually help you in the journey because there's alignment there.
Yeah.
They could have handled it differently.
Right.
It's a great organization. They just have a different theology.
Yeah. But for
there
me,
are places that don't handle that well.
Yeah. For me, though, that is a specific lane where disappointment picked and picked and picked and picked for a long time until I realized, ooh, I'm leading out of my hurt instead of healing, and I need to fix this before I become a problem.
Yeah. And the enemy knows. The enemy knows where you're susceptible to hurt, and he knows where I'm susceptible to hurt, and it's different places. So he's going to pick at those things. There's things that probably would be hurtful to you that I'm like, I don't care. And there's things that will be deeply hurtful to me that you're like, it's not even on my radar.
Yeah. I had a mentor at a church I was leading at in Indiana, Corrine Gunter, who once called me out. She's also an Enneagram 8. Has all these wonderful Enneagram 8s, you know.
Yeah. It's the best number.
She told me once, she was like, you seem like you're leading with a chip on your shoulder. And I was like, well, it's because I have a chip on my shoulder.
Yeah.
But that was the clarity I needed to start seeking healing in that area specifically.
Yeah. Well, I think you've healed, I mean, sort of a tangent. I think you've healed very well in that you and I have had a conversation about like when you'll get back into preaching.
Yeah.
You've said you're ready. And at the same time, you've been very open about like, I think I'm ready to go. However, I will submit to whatever you think.
Right.
Which is a great place. For one, it says a ton about your character, but also about how you have processed through all that. And you're like, I know I can do this. I know I'm ready for this. However, I'm going to submit to leadership. And Tony, if you say not till the rest of the end of the year, like that's fine. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And you found yourself in a place because you can also come out of that with a totally different chip on your shoulder and be very unhealthy.
Yes, exactly. And we all have blind spots. That's the thing is we see in a vacuum. And I don't ever want to be so arrogant that I think I have all the answers and the entire perspective on my life, because I don't. Not
at all. Yeah. Good.
So.
Okay.
What about you? Do you have any things that have been picking? Or in the past?
I think for me it is I think when people leave the church over stupid stuff, leave the church over, oh, you guys did a series on money, I'm out. Seriously? Like, you're just leaving because we talked about money in the Bible and whatever. I can go into that. But it's also like people you have a relationship with. Like we go to lunch. I'm thinking about someone specific right now. Like we've had lunches together. We've hung out together. We've done things. Like we had more than just a pastor parishioner like relationship. It was becoming a friendship, and then you just up and gone.
That's hard
over something, and it's like, bro, I thought this meant something.
Yeah.
Not just like you and the church, but I thought you and I meant something. Like I thought we had some sort of relationship, and you just ghost me.
Yeah.
Text nothing. Like there's no response at all. So it's when people leave in really unhealthy ways.
Yeah.
Bro, if this isn't your church, fine. I'll help you find another church. I'm good with that. Don't just ghost me.
Yeah.
Don't just leave over some sort of perceived hurt. And I'm saying perceived hurt because I know this one was stupid. And it's not actual church hurt. It's just a difference of a position or opinion on something, and is what it is. But there's been a number of those like throughout time. I think the other one for me is well, let me mention this next one first because I think it aligns with this one really well. It's human weakness and limitation. We've kind of talked about this. Like we're just not. John Wesley, who's the founder of Methodism, would define sin as a voluntary transgression of a known law. And when he talks about that, he says there are like we have weaknesses and limitations.
Right.
We have infirmities in our lives. Like there's someone who has a slurred speech and whatever. So there's obstacles we have in our lives to being perfect, as he would talk about. And we just have those. There's things we don't know, things we don't understand. Again, I remember people, a family being hurt that I didn't come visit them in the hospital years ago. And I was like, you never told us. Like I actually had no idea. No one in the church knew that you were in the hospital, yet I was supposed to magically be there. And so there's just some of the weaknesses, like lack of information.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
We had, my gosh, so in the Methodist Church, you get commissioned, probationary elder, and then you go 3 years, but then you get ordained. So it's this weird long process. So from commissioning to ordination, a 3-year period, I had, let me count them, 1, 2, 3, 4 leaders placed over me that had some sort of moral failing in that 3-year period.
Tony.
Yeah. So it's the funny thing is, like, part of the process is you go. This is funny. I'll tell the story. So for the commissioning interview, I go in and you do this evaluation, whatever, and they determined that I had a problem with authority. I was like, all right, what do I need to do? We need to go to counseling, right? So that's fine. How many sessions do I need? Like you tell me. There's so many hoops to jump through to get ordained. Like, tell me how many sessions do you require? And they said, we leave that up to the counselor to make that determination. Awesome, great. So I went to counselor, had 3 sessions. At the end of the 3rd session, he's like, Tony, I think you're fine. I think you have a healthy, like a healthy, what's the word I'm looking for here? Thought on leaders over you. Yeah. And there's a couple things you just need to be aware of, but yeah, you're good. You're fine. Sign the papers, everything, we're good. So I go to the next, like, the official commissioning interview where they're evaluating everything. And the same lady, Maggie, says, I see you only had 3 sessions. Why did you only have 3? We usually require 6. Excuse me? And so I explained the counselor, but whatever. And I said, but you told me it was up to the counselor. She goes, I would have never said that. Fortunately, I pulled up the email and showed her. So that's the first issue. I was like, okay, hold on.
I love a paper trail.
Exactly. So we go through there. I had a mentor who was the president of the seminary at the time, became my mentor. Like 2 weeks later, they had a board meeting. He stormed out, never came back. It was this weird blow up, never heard anything. So I got another mentor. You have to have a mentor in this process. Had another mentor, worked with him a couple times, couldn't get a hold of him for a month. Finally got his secretary and says, oh, you haven't heard. Well, he got removed because he embezzled a multi-million-dollar property from the church. Get another mentor over me. And that mentor, I spent more time mentoring him through a pornography addiction than he did mentoring me. In the church plant that I had, the guy who was kind of directing the church planting in the state of Indiana was removed for embezzlement. Yeah, allegedly. So you go through all this, right? So then you go to your ordination, like, final meeting with the counselor. Uh-huh. And this was a mandatory for everybody. The counselor has the audacity to look at me and says, Tony, I think you believe that you have the right to determine whose opinion has value for you.
Because of the amount of mentors
and I was like,
you
you're
have?
Darn right I do. Darn right I do. So apparently that was a negative thing for me to judge for myself whose opinion has value in my life. So I go through all that, like, all these leaders, like, just fail across the board. And then they're like, you still have a problem with authority, because every authority person you've put in my life has failed. Every single one of them. And each one of those, when I look back, has kind of added into this accumulation of hurt for me within the church. So being a pastor, your church hurt looks different. Yeah. Sometimes it looks for like a parishioner. Sometimes it looks like the authorities that were over you and how many times they've failed. All that culminates in when I took the job here at 242, which meant I was leaving the United Methodist Church. When you do that, you can ask for, I think it's 3 different things. You can ask for, I've been out of the system, I'm forgetting the name. Basically to be made an appointment. And if that's not the case, then you can ask for a leave of absence. And I can't remember what the third one was. So I talked to my superintendent. He said, do this. Wrote the letter to the bishop. Letter I got back was a very cold, kind of abrupt letter that said, by taking this job, you have voluntarily selected to surrender your credentials. which meant I was giving up my ordination. At the end of the day, I didn't really care that much about that. What I cared about was the 13 years of my life I had invested into that church and that ministry, and to be treated like that. And then when I tried to reach out, no response. Like there was no response from the office. So all those things added into church hurt. So do I have a problem with authority today? Absolutely, I do. Right? Because of the hurt that's kind of been like heaped on top of me to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Now, if I took each one in isolation, it's a human weakness and limitation. Every single one of them. I don't think no one was trying to hurt me, but when all those things added up,
right,
it gets to be a lot. And kind of going back to our conversation earlier, if you can't separate those people from the character of God, man, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard to manage all that. So that'd be I think that's my big one.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've been fortunate enough to, like, as an attender or a member of a church, never to have really experienced church hurt in the past. I've definitely seen a lot of people go through it though.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Story after story. The last one is willful sin by church members. James 4:1 says, "What causes quarrels and what causes fights among you? Is it not this, that your passions are at war within you?" And that may just summarize all of it.
All of it.
All of it. It's just the constant wrestling, man, that we have.
Yeah.
Society doesn't make it easier.
Yeah. The ways that we wound each other, both knowingly and unknowingly.
Yeah.
I think that is the reason why there's a quote that I've heard often. We haven't talked about this, so you might disagree with me, but you can disagree. I don't care.
I know you don't.
When church hurt comes up, I've heard this quote a lot. It says, "The church didn't hurt you, people did."
Yep.
And I actually think I disagree with that.
Yeah.
Because every Sunday, we end our services by saying, "Go be the church where you live, work, and play." The church is the people.
Yeah.
So if people hurt you, it means the church hurt you.
Yeah.
Which means, I think that phrase, we use that to try to avoid humility and avoid apologizing to people. We as the church should be the best at apologizing. The two words we should be the most familiar with and comfortable with saying more than any other people on the planet is, "I'm sorry."
Yeah.
I am so sorry. Why are we so resistant to saying I'm sorry? Because we, of all people, know how sin has ravaged our lives and how it has impacted our relationships with each other and with God.
Because our ability to lean into accountability sucks.
Right.
Just in general.
And just say I'm sorry.
It's awful. Yeah. Yeah. I try to teach my kids this sometimes. And I was just like, listen, I'm sorry. It's not that hard. It really isn't that hard. Yeah, but I didn't mean to. I know you didn't mean to. But what you did, like, you accidentally hurt your sister. It's fine. I'm not mad at you. It was an accident. I'm sorry. Like, is still legitimate, even though it wasn't intentional. And it's so hard to get them to just apologize to your sibling for what happened. And it's so the way I try to explain it, and it's very similar. Like, I apologize to you on behalf of the church. I didn't hurt you, but the church did. And
that's not the first time you've done that. You have apologized to me on behalf of the church many times over the last year. You don't remember that, but it's been meaningful to me.
Well, I feel like as a pastor and representative of the body of Christ,
right?
Like, there's two things. Number one, maybe you haven't heard it enough. But number two, like, there is a sense that as members of the body, we actually have the ability to apologize on behalf of the body. Just like I can hurt you on behalf of the body, like you said, I can apologize to you on behalf of the body. I didn't have to be the one that hurt you.
Yeah.
So it's just like with my kids, like, my son does something, accidentally hurts his sister. I can say, "Hey, I'm sorry." And you actually see in her, like, a change in her disposition because someone said, "I'm sorry." Someone's connecting with her on an emotional level, They're seeing her.
Right.
They're acknowledging her hurt. And now we're speaking into that.
Yeah.
It should have been from the person who hurt them.
Right.
But not like that person's not here right now.
Right.
And maybe that person's never said it to you. And if me saying it to you helps a little bit, then I should say it to you.
Yeah.
But it is humbling. It's humbling for me to say, man, because there's a lot of other things I would like to say about those leaders in that church that hurt you. Mm-hmm. But what I can and should say is, hey, on their behalf, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry what happened to you. And I think when we're able to humble ourselves better as followers of Christ, church hurt becomes less significant. Again, the abuse is abuse. I'm not trying to take away from that. But a lot of, especially the disagreements and misunderstandings, like those can all be brought down if you say, hey, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. So your situation, as it started to snowball, at some point in time, I promise you, at some point in time, they're like, oh, this isn't going well. Mm-hmm. So they doubled down instead of coming back and say, hey, Maggie, I'm really sorry. I shouldn't have said what I said to you. Mm-hmm. Let me help find someone for you that can help walk this journey with you. Yeah. That's what they should have done. Yeah. But they didn't do that. And at some point, there was a decision in that. So at some point, it started as a mistake, and then it became intentional. And that's when I say the shift happens, and okay, now it's become abusive. Mm-hmm. Because now you're intentionally doing it. If my son, they're goofing around, accidentally pops his sister in the mouth, it was an accident. Mm-hmm. If you intentionally hit her, now it's abusive. Mm-hmm. Now we're having a very different conversation around all that. What do you, we talked a little bit about responding to church hurt. And I think it's important for us to kind of start landing there. Mm-hmm. Because there's people watching, listening, say, hey, I've got church hurt. What do I do? Yeah. What do I do next? I think the first thing we do is we have to differentiate what kind of hurt it is. Mm-hmm. Is it abusive or is it not? Right. And if it's abusive, you got to get out. You need to find help. Man, my head's in a certain area now. We've watched a few documentaries and listened to podcasts on like cults, mm-hmm. which are fascinating that people go where they go, mm-hmm. like how bad things get and how they just let it happen, but also how hard it is to get out of those situations. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, someone listening, watching may be in one of those situations, but you may just be in a scenario like you were, mm-hmm. that you're being hurt by the church and you've got to find a way to get out of that community and get plugged into a healthy community. And it's also differentiating between, I'm not sure if I agree with the statement or disagree with it that you said about it's not the church that hurt you, it's people that hurt you. I think I understand what they're trying to say and on both sides, but the hurt that one church or person caused is not a reflection of who God is.
Yes, I agree with that.
And it's not a reflection on the body of Christ as a whole.
I agree with that.
Yeah. We get people walk through our doors all the time that have experienced hurt. There's a lot of people that have experienced church hurt. My hope and my prayer and what I believe to be true is you're not going to experience intentional church hurt here. Mm-hmm. There may be disagreements or disappointments along the way. Like we've said it from stage a number of times. Like at some point I'm going to disappoint you. Right. Right. And it is what it is. But the number of people that walk through our doors who are just looking for a safe community is staggering, absolutely staggering. But there's communities out there. So don't give up on the entire church. Yeah. So forgiveness, and that's a hard step to take. I'm curious about your journey in your story about like the forgiveness piece.
Yeah. I think it's important to remember, and you've talked about this specifically in different messages that you've taught on forgiveness on weekends. Forgiveness is not the same as reconciliation.
Elaborate that.
Reconciliation is re-coming together of a restoration of relationship. Mm-hmm. And I can forgive you without that restoration of relationship. Yeah. There are a lot of things that would need to happen in conversation for restoration of relationship to be a thing. I'm actually not commanded in scripture for restoration of relationship. I am commanded to forgive. Yeah. And so walking through that path of forgiveness, I'm commanded to forgive and to honor. Mm-hmm. Those are the things I'm commanded to do. And so that is a journey really mostly between me and the Lord. I don't need the other person there in order to walk through that journey. And that takes going to the mat with the Lord oftentimes over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. And for me, because of the way I'm wired, in many cases, in many relationships, it has taken significant seasons of removing myself from a relationship so that I don't further harm the relationship with the other person, because I know that I'm unable to honor them. Yeah. And I don't want to sin against them. And so I'm going to remove relationships so that I can honor you well. Yeah. Instead of compounding hurt to you. Yeah. So
often you always see those stories of where like a kid was murdered or something happened and they're in court and mom and dad extend forgiveness toward that person. It really is a decision. It doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt, because it hurts. It doesn't mean they're not angry, because I'm sure they're still angry. Yeah. Like there's a lot of emotions into it, but forgiveness truly is, at some level, it's a decision. We're going to decide to no longer hold it against you, but it doesn't mean you can be close to me. Mm-mm. It doesn't mean you get that access to me. Yeah. And I think that's
and not just because I'm trying to protect me, but because I also want to protect you. I don't want to use you as a punching bag just as much as I don't want to be a punching bag. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. Forgiveness is a hard one. Yeah. But I think it's the first key step. And once we take that step, it's a downhill journey, not in the negative sense. It's down, like we're moving in the right direction and we can actually get there. I think confronting the situation is important. Now I'm going to, again, there's some abusive situations. You just got to get out. Yeah. But if it's disappointment, like y'all, if you're disappointed with me, just let me know. Like don't hang on to it for months and let it fester and grow. Confront the situation.
And can I add to that? Yeah. Maybe don't
email me and tell me I'm an abomination.
Don't use the cop out of the email.
No, don't do that.
The email rant is not effective.
It doesn't work. You can type one up and delete it, but you don't need to send it. Yeah. Matthew 18, if a fellow believer hurts you, go and tell him. Work it out between the two of you. If he listens, you've made a friend. If he won't listen, take one or two others along, so that the presence of witnesses will keep things honest, and try again. There's a continual effort to confront and address the situation. A lot of times what happens is there's a disappointment or a hurt that takes place, and you're sitting there thinking about it. If I hurt you and you don't say anything, you're I'm not thinking about it. I don't even know what happened. You're thinking about it, and it begins to grow in its significance in your mind. And now I intentionally hurt you. No, I just misspoke from stage. That's all it was. But it grows into this big thing. And now when we talk 6 months later, there's a lot of unpacking that it could have been fixed a long time ago. Yeah. We've had staff members leave. In my ministry career, I've had staff members leave over a perceived hurt that, had they just talked to me about it, it was just a misunderstanding. But instead, they changed their entire career because they didn't come to me and say, hey, when you said this thing, that really hurt. And I could have said, oh, no, that's not what I meant. Here's what I meant. I misspoke. Yeah. Like it came out wrong. But instead of confronting it, you changed your career and the trajectory of your family because of that. That's just what happens. It just grows if you don't confront it.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah. I think being patient is important. I think your story is a testament to this. Like, things don't heal overnight.
No.
They don't get fixed immediately. I mean, you said you still have to revisit that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's a constant thing. Romans 12:12. Rejoice in our confident hope. Be patient in trouble and keep on praying.
Yeah.
Be patient in trouble and keep on praying, which I think is like the picture of your life.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to paint the picture that Maggie's life has been horrible. No, that's not what we're doing.
No.
You've gone through a couple things.
Yeah. I mean, just vulnerably, what was it? I'm trying to remember. 2.5 years ago, the adult ministries pastor that I had that interaction with in college, his face showed up on my Instagram as like a very prominent person in the church world. And this was around the time that we were inviting guest speakers to speak on weekends. And I had a panic attack and I called Misha. I never call Misha.
Yeah.
And I called Misha and I was like, I know that we're seeking people. Don't.
That would be bad.
He was like, okay, you're fine. You're fine. Are you all right?
Yeah, we're going to talk offline. We're going to figure out who this person was.
No, it's a bit, but like that's part of the patient working through of it's been, I don't like over 10 years, and just seeing someone's face triggered this trauma response in me that I was like, okay, Lord, I'm going to bring this back to your feet again.
Triggers.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for reaching out and telling Misha, so we didn't create more church hurt and trauma for you. We're like, hey, here's our next guest speaker, Maggie. We need you to work with them on this.
Nope.
Yeah. I think there's I read this. I wrote this down verbatim. I remember where I took it. Our human default in the face of hard things is withdrawal. When it comes to the church and our faith, we must discover a healthy way to lean in rather than withdraw out. And I think at the end of the day, when it comes to church, again, abusive situations are situations you need to get out of. But when they're disappointments, maybe you see things a different way, like lean in, don't lean out. Like lean into the bride of Christ. And, you know, it could be at some point that there's a deep enough theological issue or disappointment that you need to find another church, but lean in, don't lean out.
Yeah.
We've seen, I see too many people say, oh, I'm like upset that the church is doing this, or I don't like that the church does this, and I'm out. And by out, they mean they're giving up the local church. There is something powerful about the bride of Christ. Maybe not perfect, but when you look at scripture, the bride of Christ is important.
Yeah.
The body of Christ, the church, is important. And when we begin to say goodbye to that, we're actually saying goodbye to a very important part of our faith in our lives.
Yeah.
Because I think at the end of the day, the reason that, to go back to where we started, the reason church hurt is so painful and so hurtful is because it strikes at such a core piece of our identity.
Right.
Like it's a really important part of who we are. And when that piece gets hurt, our identity gets hurt. And when your identity gets hurt, the gloves are out.
Yeah.
Like
it shakes you to your core.
Pain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Last 10%, we do this every time. Last thoughts on church hurt, processing, whatever it may be.
When September 2024 happened, I remember that you had a lot of people come to you saying, begging you, please don't let Maggie go. Please don't fire Maggie.
Yeah.
And your response to that was like, why would I do that? But I want to say to you and publicly in front of everyone else, I think people's response to that was because of the amount of church hurt that people have experienced. That they expected you to behave in the way that they've seen other churches behave. And so thank you for
you're welcome.
Not being awful.
That's fun. When people said that, I was like, I don't even like why. Like I had trouble even processing like the thought process. Like why would I let Maggie didn't do anything?
Yeah.
Like and I've had plenty of conversations with you. You didn't do anything.
Right.
Like you had not like this was
but I mean,
out of left field.
You even had other pastors come to you and offer to take me off your hands.
They did.
And you were like, nope. Back off.
I was like, if you call her, I'm going to come over there and throat punch you myself.
But just all that to say, I think that our church needed to see integrity, and that was modeled really well. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for leaning in, because you could have leaned out.
Yeah.
I think that's my last 10%. Yeah. Like lean in and don't give up on the body of Christ. Don't give up on the bride. Certainly don't give up on God.
Yeah.
Because any church or any hurt that I've caused you is not God hurting you. God is the healer, and He is here, and He wants to restore people. but we do live in a broken world, man. We live in a world where we don't get everything right. We mess up along the way, and we stumble. But I think, to your point, if we can humble ourselves and acknowledge that as church leaders, I'm not perfect and I'm going to hurt people along the way. But if the quicker I can get to humility and seeking reconciliation and forgiveness and healing, the better off we all are.
Right.
Across the board. Thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah.
I know it's not something you share all the time, but I appreciate you sharing it, and I appreciate how you've leaned in and let God redeem your story. And even though that person was crazy for what they said, God has used your story.
Yeah.
And will continue to use your story. So thank you for letting him do that.
Yeah, he has. And I'm grateful.
Yep.